What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Sit Down. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure you hit that like button and let me know what you think of today's breaking news story in the comment section below. If you're new around here, you just haven't done it yet. We're living under a rock and seeing this video for the first time. I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button below now so you never miss another sit down video. What's up, everybody? It is Friday afternoon, and I don't normally release videos on Friday. That said, I thought there was a pretty interesting story that I wanted to get to the bottom of, so I did so recently, and I'm going to read the report. A post on Instagram has been released by longtime Philly reporter Dave Schratweiser. He would detail a bugaboo that former high-end Philly mobster Joseph Massimino has a problem. Let's talk about it. I want to read directly from the Instagram post regarding Joseph Mousie Massimino. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post it on the screen, and then I'm going to talk about, I think, the confusion going on here. Bear with me just a second as I present the screen. Now, according to Schratweiser, breaking news. Court papers obtained by Mob Talk Sit Down say federal probation officials want former Philly mob underboss, alleged Philly mob underboss, Joseph Mousie Massimino returned to custody after he allegedly met twice with two convicted felons and known Philly mob associates, Steve Frangipani and Vincent Procopio, over a 6-month period and after a prior warning from the feds. Massimino, who is on supervised release after a 12-year federal prison sentence on racketeering charges, is prohibited from associating with felons and mob associates or members. Massimino has requested a hearing on these violations before a federal judge. Okay, so let me talk about a few things here. Mr. Massimino got out of prison a little over a year ago. He was serving 188 months after being found guilty in that gambling loan sharking case involving Joe Legambi and other alleged members of the mafia in Philadelphia in the early 2010s. Mousie's no stranger. He's been around a long time. He's 74 years old. He's an old timer. Okay, so he did his time. Mousie's old school. He's never going to talk. He's never going to say a word. This is him in federal prison. Came home, did his time. And as normal in the federal prison system, you're giving a time of supervised release. During that supervised release, you have to abstain from doing narcotics or drinking alcohol. You have to maintain employment. You have to not consort with known felons. And in his case, he needs to stay away from not only made members of the mafia or people deemed to be associates by the federal government. So what Mousie does is he goes and gets employment. And as far as I know, Mousie Massimino, since his release from prison, has been a model supervised release person. He got a job at a local cheesesteak spot, and I want to make it clear, it is not Pat's Steaks like the one here. I just needed a picture of a cheesesteak, so I picked that one. He is working at a steak spot in South Philadelphia, and from what I understand, he has made it clear to certain people that he sees people. It just happens to be how it is. South Philly's a small place. Okay. It's not crazy to think that you're going to run into one of these people. From what I understand, though, these are not mob sit downs. He might say hello to somebody. They might pass by the steak shop he works at. They have a fucking window. It's not that crazy. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't help, though, that Mousie Massimino has been an alleged member of the mob for a long time. And when we look back to the trial he was involved with over a decade ago, at the trial, the government produced a letter sent by Massimino to a friend of his, in which Massimino asked a friend to relay a message to an individual that owed him money. According to the letter, it stated, quote, "He better get my fucking money. I don't care who the fuck he owes. He better get mine. This motherfucker owes me 35 grand. I don't care if he has to rob a bank. He better fucking get my money. He would have never did what he did if Crutch was still around. He waited for him to die. That bald-headed motherfucker, I'm tired of the stories and bullshit. He won't be able to hide anywhere in the U.S. Tell him to get on this for me. So what the federal government is going to do is they're going to use things like this to say, well, he's always been like this. This is the kind of guy he is, and we can't trust his word. Now, from what I have found out, Massimino has done nothing on the streets. Guys, the truth is, this is not a world in South Philadelphia that is still mob run. It's not like there's guys hanging out on the street corners and they, tower over everybody and no crime is committed. It's not like it was during the Scarfo or even Merlino years many years ago. But I want to talk about quickly the people that the feds claim that Mr. Massimino was talking to. Both of these people are not members of the mafia. Okay. In fact, one of the people he is talking about, Stratweiser, he's talking about this guy on the left, Steve Frangipani, aka Goggles. Okay. He has been featured recently on Joey Molino's podcast. This guy's very much out there. Everybody in South Philly knows him. In fact, I know Steve. I've known him for years. He's a good guy. He is literally at Philly Live Casino every day. You can see him everywhere. He's all around. You have to literally stay in your house all the time to never run across him. Now, look, this is not exactly easy if you're Massimino. Okay, he's obviously a guy that for whatever reason, the feds still are watching. They care about it at a high level, but he's just working. He's doing his job after the government told him to get a job. This is what you have to do. He went and got a job. So what should he do? Stay home and not do anything and consort with people? It also doesn't help that certain podcasters have put out that he's holding court, which he's not. He's working. Look, guys, I'm not here to defend these people, but I lived in this neighborhood. I've talked about it. It's so hard to not run into these people. So case in point, let's say, for instance, I get hit with a federal charge, right? I don't do any time. Or let's say I do 6 months and they get me some supervised release. I'm free to go as I please. But if I happen to go to Philly Live and see Goggs and I don't even acknowledge him, let's say he's 6 feet away from me and I don't notice, the feds can look at that and say, well, look, he waved or didn't even acknowledge him. He just looked at him. He's consorting with felons. I mean, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Now, the other guy, Vincent Procopio, is also not a mob soldier. He's not a mobster. Vincent Procopio at one point got a bookmaking charge like a decade ago, and over a decade ago, in like the 2000s. Vincent Procopio is a poker player. He plays on like the World Series of Poker. I've seen him at Philly Live many times. All these guys go to Philly Live. You could see him there all the time. Procopio lives in that neighborhood. He's always around. He literally could have just walked by a steak spot and saw Massimino and waved or something. It's not a big thing. The problem that Massimino will have here is, look, he's not going to just, he's an old school guy. It's who he is. But this is picking on people, to be fair. The Philly mob is not important anymore. There's nothing going on. This guy's 74 years old. Now, one issue that they're going to also bring up, I'm sure, is the fact that during the same trial that I read the note at, the government presented a tape recording of a phone conversation in which an unidentified friend of Massimino and him were talking on the phone. At one point, the unidentified man made a comment, quote, my grandson is with me. He wanted to meet the underboss real fast. I was wondering if you can. To which Massimino would respond, quote, yeah. Now, at a hearing, the individual would testify that he was the person who made the call and that he jokingly referred to Massimino as, quote, the underboss. The man would then testify that he used the term because he had seen a news report in which that called Massimino an underboss. He testified that he did not know what the term meant at the time, but he found it, quote, funny, and that he was joking when he used it. Now, according to an attorney for Massimino, Joe Santaguida, who Massimino tried to argue he wasn't a quality attorney, he would state, Massimino, that Santaguida was not ineffective because whatever this individual's reasons were for calling Massimino the underboss, essentially was just a comedy made and just a funny joke. But what the government's going to do is they're going to use this stuff against Massimino. They're going to say, look, you've been dug in for years. You know, you have literally dozens of arrests on your criminal record. This is who you are. It's always who you are. How can we believe you're just going to, you know, become a good boy when you go home? But the truth is, Massimino is. I'm sure he's just looking to stay out of the way and not go back to jail. That said, I don't think he would care. This guy's 74 years old. He spent a ton of time in prison. But we continue to see that, and in my opinion, I had assumed that, you know, that we were moving on to new business if we're the feds in Philadelphia. It seems like they are still dug in. But I'm guessing that I'm sure Massimino said, look, I'm going to have employment. I can't control who comes here. Maybe they don't know I'm even working. If a guy walks in to get a steak or a hoagie and I'm cooking a steak on the grill and I say, what's up, bro? Is that consorting? I'm just saying hi. It's not like Massimino has been seen in dark alleys undetected talking with, you know, high-end people. I'm sure his phones are being tapped. You don't think he knows this? So I guess in the case of these guys who are reporting on this stuff, I think this is a nothing burger. I wanted to talk a little further and try to find some info on this. From what I understand, Mr. Massimino has a job at a cheesesteak spot. These guys happen to come by or pass on by. But from what I understand, it was nothing more than that. I guess we'll have to wait and see what goes on with this trial. That said, Massimino, an interesting guy. I've always heard good things about him. I do know some folks that are related to him. They were always good people, good men. I know a nephew of his. He's a good guy. Always had good interactions with him. I've had dinner with him once or twice. Massimino, I don't know. I've never met. I don't claim to know. But this is an interesting story. And, you know, this is the continued scrutiny that these folks will deal with, you know. And I guess if we're talking about the feds, this is what these parole people do, these supervised release people do. My guess is, though, I'm sure Massimino made it clear to them, hey, I have a job at this place. You want me to maintain employment? You know, do you want me to just, you know, stand and look straight and not look at anybody? My guess is this was just a random thing. And look, guys, like I said, I know Gogs really well. He's just a jovial guy, man. He's not anybody crazy. You know, he got a felony like 30 years ago. Everybody knows Gogs. You know, he hangs out with Joey. They're friends. They've been friends for years. All these guys, they're all the same way. So we'll have to wait and see. But alleged Philly mobster Joe Mousie Massimino, feds are looking to jam him up again. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with the requested hearing, which will happen, I'm guessing, pretty soon. So we'll see what happens. What do you think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. I got a new video coming out tomorrow. Make sure you check it out. Thanks for checking out this breaking news story. We'll see you next time here on the Sit Down.